guys, it's Anna here at Dee's in Louisville, and you have been asking for us to show you how to make our beautiful ladybug and sunflower wreath. And today I'm going to show you. For this project, you're going to need your 24-inch work wreath frame, the one that has the ties already attached, a 21-inch roll of mesh. It's hard to believe, but underneath of that wreath there is a mesh frame, and that's what holds everything on. I used 3 different ribbons, the large sunflower, and then for stems to have that sticky outy airiness, I used 2 of the multi-wildflower stems, and then I also used the sunflower stem just to add here and there. I used a box of these ladybugs that come on the wire, one of the jumbo ladybugs, and the tools you'll need are just scissors, wire cutters, pipe cleaner, and then for this project I actually did use a hot glue gun. I know we normally don't, we twist everything on, but to add in the little ladybugs and the sunflowers at the very end, I did use a little bit of hot glue. The first thing you're going to do is make your mesh base. So you, as always, you're just going to stand up all your ties so you can see where the mesh is going to go. There's 2 rows, and I'm going to make it just like we always do our basic mesh wreaths. So after you get those ties all stood up, it's easier to lay it flat on a tabletop than to try and make it up on the board. So just lay it on your table, grab your mesh by the end, let it drop to the ground so it won't snag your clothes, and then gather the end. All you do is just bunch it in your hand and go to the first set of ties. I always do the inner ring first, and then I move to the outer ring. So simply open up the set of ties, lay it in there, and twist it. And this is going to be like we always do it. I'm not doing any cutting or anything like that. I'm just going to loop it. So I'm going to take my hand, leave about 6 inches of mesh. Sometimes you can go bigger, but I'm going to do it a little bit smaller because I'm going to add all that stuff on top. I want my frame to be a little bit smaller with the mesh. So I'm only going to do about 6 inches so that you can see the poof is a little bit smaller this time, and that way I can add everything on top of it. So I'm going to go ahead and do the whole inner ring, and then I'm going to just jump down and do the outer ring. I've made it all the way around and now I'm done. I'm just going to cut the mesh off of the frame and tuck the tail up underneath the nearest loop. As you can see, using a little bit less mesh does make it smaller and a little bit more compact. This also works if you have a storm door and you do want that mesh look without it being too smashed. You can make your loops all a little bit smaller, and it takes a little less mesh. I'll probably only have used 7 yards on this wreath as opposed to the full 10-yard roll. I've put my wreath onto our wreath board. It's so much easier to work when you look straight at it. And the first thing I'm going to do is add in the large sunflower. This sunflower has a ring on the back, and all you're going to do is catch it in between these work wreath ties. I did mine in the bottom right here, kind of nestled in there. You could do it anywhere you want though, or you could do a couple if you really want it to show up or you have a really large door. But I'm just going to grab these ties here, slide one of them up through that ring, pull it all the way down to the frame as close as I can get, and then twist it so it's really nice and secure. The petals have wires in them, so you can get it to stand up and go wherever you want. Okay, now I'm ready to add in the other 2 stems. So next I went with the wildflower stems, and I add those in here and here to kind of fill in the spots. So just cut the stem off, and then I don't cut the stem apart. I still leave it a full stem, but I fluff it out so it's really large and will cover more space. So just go on and fluff it all the way out so that it just fills in really nicely. And then this is nice and wiry and it has long pieces, and that's what I'm going to glue the ladybugs to at the end. Kind of bend it to fit the frame really well, and then I just go kind of in between the 2 layers of mesh and catch it in ties. You can do the top ring or the bottom ring ties, but I just like to go in between the mesh layers, so then that way you don't see the stem as much. And just twist it in 2 or 3 places so it's really secure, and once you get it in there you can kind of move everything where you want it to go. I finished adding in the other stem. I just kind of did it up here to the top to fill in really nicely. And now I'm ready to start adding ribbon. I chose 3 ribbons, and the one I'm going to start with, I'm going to use the entire roll. So that's going to be your background ribbon. You're going to add a lot more things on top of it, so it won't show up as much. So that's why I go ahead and use the whole 10 yards. And on this ribbon, the way I add it in, I make bows in my hand before I attach it into the ties. So what I'm going to do, always cut a cute V-cut, and then hold your ribbon in your hand and make a bow. So I just simply do 2 loops, like a typical shoestring or hair bow. I do them a little bit bigger so they'll stick out past the mesh, and I hold it in my hand, and now I'm going to twist it in. You can start anywhere, but I like to start in a visible hole first, and I'm going to go right here. So I'm going to go to this outer ring twist tie right here and just twist it into the tie and then fluff it up. So as you can see, I made them a little bit bigger, and that helps it stand up. And that's also how we end up using the full 10 yards, because there's probably at least a half a yard, maybe more, in just that bow. Now I'm just going to grab the ribbon, let the wire do the work on the edge of the ribbon, and go to the next set of ties. I just pinch it, and I'm going to go right here, and I'm going to loop all over the wreath. So since I added a bow and now another loop, I'm going to go ahead and cut it so I have a little bit more control over where I go with my bows and my loops. So I'm just going to, again, cut the V-cut so I have that cute little tail all over the wreath. And now I'm going to add another bow near it. So again, just loop the bow in your hand, leaving them a little bit larger, and go to the next spot. I'm going to go down here and loop up this time. I finished adding the red gingham ribbon all the way around, and I ended up using the full 10 yards, just adding those bows all over. You can go behind the sunflower, in and out, and it looks really nice, but it also fills in a lot. So next I'm going to add my other ribbon. This is a 2.5 inch black and white polka dot, and I'm going to add this one in here and there. So I'm still going to do quite a bit of it, but I'm not going to do the bows. I'm just going to do loops to add in. So I always start where I don't have anything, so I might be like right here to fill in. So just twist it in and then loop it to the nearest tie. With this one, you could do 1 loop and cut it. You can do 2 loops and cut it. I like to just kind of step back and see if I need another loop right next to the one I just made, and then I'll go ahead and do it, and then I'll cut it. But I always like to do the loops and cut them, so then I have a little bit better of an idea of where they're going. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this one. So now I'm free to add my ribbon here, wherever I want it. I finished looping the black and white all over the wreath, just filling in, and lastly I'm going to add in the cute ladybug ribbon. This one I'm going to do the least amount of because it shows up really well, and it's also on the top, so you don't need a ton. So I'm going to add little cut pieces here and there throughout the wreath. So just lay it in your tie and cut it and kind of fluff the ribbon out and do those all over. So I like to go where like the hand bows out of the red gingham were, or one, especially ties that don't have anything in them if you find one of those. But just add those ladybug cuts all over the wreath. So when you do that, you're going to end up using about 3 yards of the ladybug just to do cuts here and there. They are about 10 to 12 inches long if you want to cut them all at once. And of the black and white, I have a little bit left. I used about 7 yards of that one. You can get by with a little less if you're trying to save or you want to make 2 out of it. You just do a few less loops, but you're definitely going to want to factor in at least 6 or 7 yards for that. So I'm going to finish adding in the ladybug ribbon all over, and lastly we're going to add in the sunflowers and the little ladybugs. Next I'm going to add in a few more sunflowers. They're a little bit smaller. I cut them relatively short. I cut off all the leaves, because what I'm going to do is just glue them in here and there for another pop of that yellow. And this is where you need your hot glue. So I just dunk a little hot glue onto the stem, and I go where there's a tie. So the hot glue won't stick to geomesh, but it will stick to a tie. So I find a tie, and then back behind there, I use the very end of the work wreath tie and just twist it as well. So it's glued and twisted. That way it won't come out. And then I'm going to pop the other 2 in. Just wherever I see a little bit of a gap. And again, just twist it around the stem. Next is the cute jumbo ladybug. I like to fluff his little legs out. And he also comes with a big stem. I'm going to pull that out and hot glue him into the middle of the sunflower. So just put a little bit of hot glue onto the bottom of him. And then I like to go just kind of half on the center and half on the petals. And I hold it for a few seconds to make sure he's really securely glued on there. Lastly, I'm going to add in my little ladybugs that come on the wire. Some of them I leave on the wire because I want them to kind of shoot out of the wreath, and then others I'm going to take off the wire to glue on the ribbon here and there. But you don't need that long of a wire. They come with a really long wire, but I'm going to cut it to about 5 inches and then twist them onto the ties and also onto the stems. What's nice about these is you get 12 in a box, so you can fill it up and add all 12 to the wreath, or you can just use a few here and there and split it if you need to make 2. But all I do is find a stem that's kind of sticking out, and I wrap my wire of the ladybug around it and kind of push him down, and then he'll be secure on there. Since those stems aren't big enough to quite glue them to, the wire comes in handy. So again, just wrap that wire around the stem a few times and push the ladybug down, and then he'll be kind of up, cute, sticking up above the wreath. So add those all over, the ones that you still have on the wire, and next we're going to glue some on. Now to finish it up, I'm just going to glue a few on here. I just dot them with hot glue, and then I like to put them on the black and white ribbon because they really show up. I saved about 4 off the wires just to tuck here and there. I might even put one right here on the sunflower across from the big one. And again, on the sunflower, you might have to hold it just for a second to really get it to stay. The ribbon, it sticks pretty quickly. But just add those last few ones all over, and you're good to go. Now it's ready to hang on your door. This wreath would be perfect for the entire summer. Leave it up until you're ready to put up your fall wreath. If you like this wreath, check us out on Facebook. You can also find us on Instagram at @DeesLouisville, and check out lots of our other videos that we have on YouTube.